Alright, what's going on, friends? So I came home from work today and I had a big pile of pellets in my hopper because they did not light. And actually the other day the same thing happened. They did not light and I thought maybe it was the pellets. Well, today I decided to check my igniter. My igniter was bad. Now this is an old igniter. I still have my igniter in my pellet stove. So I'm going to show you how you can check your igniter without taking it completely out. And if your igniter is bad, you're just going to have to order a new igniter. And also, I think maybe I'll try to make a video on how to light your pellet stove if your igniter is bad manually. At least how I light my pellet stove manually, because you can do that. All right, I think these are the only two tools you're going to need. You're going to need something to cut the little zip ties inside your stove. I'll show you where the zip ties are at. So some little cutters. And then I have a 5/16 inch socket. That's how I took off the back, and I'll show you all the stuff that I took off in the back to get to the zip ties. You have to get in the back to cut the zip ties so you can pull the wires out underneath your burn pot to check your igniter, because you're not going to be able to get to these wires in the connectors without cutting them zip ties. You are going to need a multimeter to check your igniter also. So I'll put one of these down in the description, or you can just go to Lowe's or maybe any hardware store, maybe even some of the auto parts stores, and just buy a multimeter if you want. But I'll put this down in the description along with, I do have this one too. They both read the same. All right, to get into your igniter is going to be in your burn pot. It's going to be in your burn pot. This is your burn pot. The igniter is going to be inside here. So you go down in where your ashes are. So you're going to pull out your ash pan. You're going to take off this little cover just like this. The cover is going to be on like that. It won't be on like that. It will be on like that. And see how that can slide right down over two little wing nuts, which will be those two little wing nuts. Right, this little wing nut and this little wing nut. So all you got to do is loosen those two little wing nuts up. Maybe with some pliers or your hands, and then slide that door up. And then you're going to be able to get to these wires. These wires are connected to my igniter. These two wires like this, which they were all already connected together. I checked them, and that's when I found out my igniter was bad. But these ones here go to the back of my stove, and I'm going to show you in the back. The door you got to take off, and you have to cut some zip ties because you won't be able to pull these wires out far enough to disconnect them and then check them. You're going to go in the back, and the cover is going to look like this. It's right behind your exhaust, or maybe right above your exhaust if your exhaust goes straight out the back of your pellet stove. My exhaust goes up, so mine's kind of right behind my exhaust. Or if you want to say right in front of my exhaust, I guess, not behind it. But so you want to take this cover off. There's going to be 4 screws, 2 on each side, that you got to take out. So on this side of the stove, I just loosened that one and I loosened that one. Now you can take them out if you want, but you only had to loosen them because then it ended up sliding right out. On this side of the stove is where my thermostat wire comes out. I took that screw completely out and that one completely out because you can't slide it up because of this thermostat wire. So, and my thermostat wire does look different because I wired mine to a digital thermostat. And I have a video on that. If you want to watch that, I'll have a link to that at the end of this description. Along with, if this video is helping you out, please hit that subscribe button because I have about 15 other videos of this same pellet stove. This thing has been an awesome pellet stove. Really, this igniter is the only thing I've ever changed out. And I'm actually about ready to put my old one back in because my old one is better than the new one I bought 2 years ago. That igniter. Don't know why. I'm going to be on this side of my stove. So if you're looking at your stove on the left side, you go in the back, and you're going to look in here. This yellow wire and this purple bluish wire, those go into they will end up going into your burn pot. Those are the other wires. But these wires are going to be all bundled up here in a circle. And you're going to have to cut a couple zip ties so they'll pull through. And then I can check them. But even if you would end up replacing it, you're going to have to do the same thing anyway. So just cut those couple zip ties. I already cut mine. You can probably leave this one, if you have one like that, you might be able to leave that one on because you just want to be able to slide it out. Now I got my multimeter, I put it on ohms. See that little symbol there, the little upside down horseshoe looking thing? I put mine on 200 ohms. Also, if you have a multimeter like this, make sure you have the red lead in the side where it is ohms, not over here on the 10 amp side, but over here. The black one should be in the middle. Now we're going to take the black and the red one and we will stick it. These are the wires that are out of my igniter. I'm just going to stick them in there. It does not matter which one you put in where. So put the black one in whichever one you want. Alright, so I put them in there and they just kind of fit tight on the one side of that little flat piece in there. And I'm reading nothing, or 1. Now I have it hooked up to my old one actually, and I'm reading 48.9 ohms, which should be pretty decent. You should be reading between 45 and 53 ohms, and they say typically that is 47 to 49 ohms. So I'm going to take that old, or actually I'm going to take the newer one out and put my old one back in, so my pellets will ignite. If you need to know a little bit more about how to take that igniter out, I'll put a link to that at the end of this description, so I go through all the steps on how to take that igniter out. I wouldn't recommend buying a generic igniter. If I can find an OEM igniter like the one that came with Harman, I'll put that at the end of this description. Alright, well, I hope this video helped you out with at least diagnosing your igniter to find out if your igniter was good or bad. Just give this video a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment down below. Hit that subscribe button to help support my channel. God bless and have a great heating season.